Drug overdose deaths soared to over 93,000 in 2020. That's a 30% increase over the previous year. That's tragic and alarming. But beyond the statistics are the stories of real people, people we love, our families, our friends, our neighbors, who share their stories of pain, grief, and loss and suffering through addiction, as well as the stories of those who work tirelessly to combat this devastating epidemic. I'm Mike Torville. Join me now for Healing Voices Project. Hello everyone, welcome back to Healing Voices Project. Today we have a special guest from Agawam, Dino Bedinelli. Dino is the founder and chief operating officer for the Compass Recovery Treatment Center in Agawam, which, by the way, opened a year ago tomorrow. That's December 4th. So good timing with Dino. We have the 1-year anniversary of the Compass Recovery Treatment Center in Agawam. Thanks for joining us, Dino.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Sure. So you've gone through a year now. It's been quite a ride because you opened up right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, we did. I mean, It wasn't a planned thing, right? So it just
you didn't plan on COVID.
It just happened that way.
Right. So during all the planning, the moving, everything, you were challenged by COVID, and you had to say, well, what happened here? Did it get delayed, or was everything on pace as you planned?
No, I mean, we I had some partners at the time, and we came up with the idea to do this. It was COVID was going on, so it was, I think, around August of 2020 when we decided. We were like, hey,
okay,
we should put this together. And so, I mean, COVID was a thing, you know what I mean? But it was the summertime, so it had kind of dissipated a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We had been locked down for a while. People really wanted to get out of the house, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And then, if you remember, around that time, it was kind of like, oh, well, it's kind of like over. And so, it wasn't. We didn't really take it into consideration. It didn't deter us. It didn't, we just did it. It was a need. And we're like, we're going to make it work no matter what.
So you say that it was a need, and I think in Agawam, there was a lack of centers like yours.
Well, I mean, it's not just in Agawam, in Western Mass.
In Western Mass, yeah.
There are a few other options, but, when you only have, one other choice, that's not really an option. There are a few other places that you could go to for IOP treatment.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're a little bit different than most.
Okay. And now, is the Compass Recovery Treatment Center part of a larger organization, or is it standalone?
No, and that's what makes us really unique.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not a big corporation where, the people who are in charge of the policies and the procedures of what happens are, 12 steps, 15 steps removed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We are one center. We are founded by myself and a few of my partners, and we all come from this area, right? So I was born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, right? So I'm not somebody from Boston or someone from outside the area, saying, hey, this is what Western Mass needs. I'm somebody who lived my whole life
in the community,
right here,
right
in this community, saying, I know this community, and this is what we need.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, you said the COVID, because you're going, sort of what we thought was fading away at the time. But in the meantime, COVID certainly did affect drug use and sort of exacerbated the problem. So you had that making things a bit worse in the meantime, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know about worse is I think, if anything, it made it a need more.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Especially what I had noticed. So I've been in the field for about 11 years, right? And, when I first started 11 years ago, treatment, what I noticed as people coming to us,
mm-hmm.
it was a very mixed group. It was. You had alcohol, you had opiates, you had cocaine use. It was just a very mixed group. And then around maybe 5 years ago, all of a sudden there was just a spike. All I saw for the most part, I'd say like 70% of people in treatment were there for opiates, right? We had that huge epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
COVID changed that. What I'm seeing now predominantly actually is alcohol abuse. Because I think what happened, this isn't like, I don't have research backing this up, but this is like
just an observation. Yeah.
But like what I noticed is I feel that, the isolation of COVID,
mm-hmm.
the easy accessibility of the alcohol, I think a lot of people who had been in recovery and had been maybe attending 12-step meetings pre-COVID and all that stuff, they felt isolated. They got away from what they were doing to stay sober. I think we had a lot of relapses on alcohol. And I think a lot of people who were, kind of in the fringes of having a problem, COVID really sent that over the edge.
Yeah, sure. Lots of things. You said isolation, certainly a big factor. The other is, think about all the restaurants were closed, but the liquor stores were open.
Correct.
So, there's nothing else to do, so why don't we, we can always go there. Yeah,
right, I just think it really, so now what we're seeing not predominantly, but so most of the people now we're treating are using alcohol abuse. I mean, we still have the opiates, it's still a thing. It's not like it's not a thing. I just saw a dramatic spike due to COVID in alcohol abuse.
You said when people go to your center, and I'm going to ask a question, I'm going to seem very naive by asking this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How do people find your center? And what I mean by that is when they realize they have a problem, how do they decide you're the place to go versus another treatment center?
Well, first off, that was, you have to know we're here, right? So,
right.
We now recently have been doing what you could call an SEO campaign.
Okay.
And I'm not a digital marketing hip guy, but I do know basically, this has allowed us, so when you search certain keywords, because that's what everybody uses nowadays, right? Everybody's using the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you search certain keywords like alcohol treatment near me or rehabs near me, will pop up. So that's one way,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Word of mouth is what got us. We have had an exponential growth as of lately, because when we first started for a long time, nobody knew we existed.
So I guess to that point, and you're right, and I think about it, it's pretty obvious. The SEO search certainly makes a difference, because if you don't know it exists, you don't have the ability to type in the website that you don't know about, right?
Correct.
If you don't know it's there.
Correct.
But speaking of that, what is the website?
So our website is, and it's a long one, right? Yeah. So it's www.compassrecoverytreatment.com. So, www.compassrecoverytreatment.com. Correct.
Okay. But if they don't know about it, and they don't have the ability to type that in, they do the search, and you'll find, treatment centers in Agawam, treatment centers, and they'll find it that way. But I think the other is, and this is where I guess my question comes from, is you're an outpatient center.
Mm-hmm.
How does somebody know, the person themselves or a family, to go to an outpatient center versus an inpatient? And how do they know that your program is the most appropriate for them versus an inpatient rehab?
Well, so either because you've been through the treatment continuum a few times, so you're hip to what is what.
Yeah.
Or you just call. You call, and I will, or one of my staff members will ask you what's going on, where you're at. There's certain criteria you have to meet. So if you were an active use or active withdrawal use, you're not appropriate for an outpatient treatment center. You need an inpatient care. Okay. But all you got to do is, if you know about us, is call us, and we will assess, and we will explain to you exactly what level of care is appropriate.
Okay.
So anybody who calls, it doesn't matter whether they're appropriate for our level of care or not, we're going to get you somewhere.
Okay.
Right? So that's the thing. It doesn't matter whether we take your insurance or don't take your insurance, you're going to get somewhere. It's not just, I'm not going to just be like, okay, so maybe you need to go somewhere else and here's a place to call. I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to call some places for you, and I'll get you a bed somewhere or something like that. So it's just a basic criteria that determines what level of care a person is appropriate for.
Okay.
Okay, so
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Because a lot of people like myself, I say, well, how would I know to go to your center versus another? And that it doesn't matter if you know or not. And I would assume that's true for some of the other places. If they call other places, they'll say, you know what, here's the most appropriate place for you to call. Let's get you there. Let's make some phone calls and connect you there.
I can't speak for other places.
Right.
I don't actually know if other places will do that. I do know that we will. That's all I know. So basically, all I got to say is this. If you're hearing this podcast and somebody you love or yourself has any kind of problem with substance abuse, just call us and we'll take care of you and get you to where you need to go.
Why not give the number right now? If you
all right, so our main number is 413-861-0680.
Okay, thanks. That'll help. Now, you've been in this for 11 years.
Yes, sir.
What got you into this line of work?
Struggling with addiction myself, right? So as of January 4th, I'll be 13 years sober.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I got sober and through 12-step programming.
Yeah.
Going through treatment centers myself, too, right?
Yeah.
And early off, I started, helping out and getting involved in 12-step programming. I started going to Howard Street, which is part of Ludlow County Jail system.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, people get to go there if they have a substance issue, and it's more of a treatment facility than a locked up facility. You still have some, you still have the stuff going on, the rules and stuff, but they're more predominantly trying to give treatment.
Okay.
So one of the things they do is they allow the people who are there to go to outside meetings if an escort picks them up. So I started doing that. I started going there. I started picking up people and stuff, and I just really liked it. I really liked helping people who struggled with what I struggled with, and that's really how it all started. So from there I was like, well, if I like doing this, on my free time, maybe I'd like to do this as a profession. So then I went to Westfield State, the KDAC program they have there, which is basically a certified alcohol and drug counselor is what I became.
Yeah.
I did that, and then I started working in the field. And I was lucky I started working in the field right away as a counselor. Very early on, I just realized that I wanted to continue to develop in the field.
Yeah.
So I went to school and I got my bachelor's at Springfield College, and then I went and got my master's in social work at Springfield College. Then I started working as a therapist in the field. I always stuck in the field. I did have a stint where I went to outpatient care, which isn't just substance abuse. It's general outpatient, and I realized it wasn't for me. My passion lies in people who struggle with substance abuse. That's my passion.
And doing a lot of one-on-one or at least group and more intimate.
Well, I'm just saying, outpatient isn't specific to any one kind of problem. You're dealing with mental health problems. You're not only dealing with substance abuse. And after working for about 8 months as an outpatient therapist, I realized, I like helping people, but I really like helping people who struggle with substances.
Yeah.
And after that, I got into the administrative role. I started working in a facility in Connecticut that I had worked previously as a counselor for, and I became the director of that facility. From there, I went to a place out in Cummington and became the director of that facility. And then basically what happened is I don't know, I just started becoming a little disillusioned with treatment in general, the way I was seeing it. I'm not going to get into the particulars, but I just felt that both, whether you're in the nonprofit or profit section, I saw problems that I just didn't really agree with. And I was like, you know what? I think I can do this better myself. And so that's where it all started. I really wanted to get back to the kind of treatment that it used to be, how I saw it, where it was, really just doing it because you really, really want to help people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying other places don't really want to help people. I just wanted to do it myself.
And your way.
Yeah,
from what you've seen. Yeah,
right. I just really wanted to get back to more of a basic approach, and so Compass Recovery. What makes us really special is that we're a small facility where it's very hands-on, obviously, right? So I actually, for the first about 10 months of our existence, was the one who did every single group. and so like, you're going to go there as a client and you will be seeing every single staff member, owner, operator, all that stuff, hands-on every day. It's very intimate. It's very personal. You know what I mean? So like if a problem arises there and a client needs some kind of special care, there's not a chain to get up to the top to just have the decision like, oh yeah, we should do that. Like my office is right there. It's like, okay, yes, you know what? We should do that.
The decision's right there.
Right there. We should do that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's I just think it's a really, really special place.
Well, it's working well because you're growing.
We are. We're definitely growing.
You've grown, one, in your staff, right?
Yep.
So how many people?
So, I mean, like I said, we have grown. As of last August, we had two staff members, myself and the clinical director at the time. And now we have my, 5 full-time staff members.
In addition to yourself, right?
Yeah, and a part-time staff member.
Wow. And your clientele also.
We went from 7 clients back in July to 35 today.
You still have room.
Yeah, we still have room.
All right.
Yeah, we still have room.
So, one of the things that I think about, and I hear a lot in discussing people that I've, in the book Voices from the Fallen, when we interviewed several people to tell their stories, and the people I've spoken with, what I've found is a lot of the family members, especially the family members' parents, they have unreasonable expectations that, oh good, my son, daughter, friend, sister, my family member, thank God they're finally in a recovery center, finally they're in rehab, everything's going to be better now. Mm-hmm. And sort of naively think that they're going to come out whole. But often that is not the case, because there's repeated relapses. And how do you set the right expectations with somebody who's beginning your program for the first time?
You have to have family involvement.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, the mentality is in almost every case, I think, especially unless people are really versed on substance abuse and what it really entails.
Yeah.
Especially the disease component of it, which it is a disease because it's a chronic, progressive, fatal condition. But I mean, that's a long, complicated thing. But unless a family is really versed on it, there's this mentality that, okay, so all our problems are surrounding the substance abuse, right? That's it. That's everything. That's the problem. Once that's fixed, everything's going to be, rainbows and puppies.
Right.
But that's not really how it works, right? Because that's like, you have a system, a family, right? When one person has the problem and all the focus is going on that problem, and that person goes and gets better, right? There's still all the dynamics in the relationships, all the family members, all the roles people have now taken during the substance use. It forces people into certain kinds of roles where you have caregivers and the wrong, this one person who's always wrong and they get the blame. It's just, the whole system needs help getting better, not just the person who's using the substances. So we do a lot of family sessions, a lot of family involvement, and that is the best way to educate everybody, to let everybody know that, hey, this is what it is, this is what it looks like, and like it's not just this one individual who needs to work at improving this entire system. Everybody in the system needs to kind of learn how to operate now with a dramatic change.
And I think you said a lot there, because
I did say a lot there, didn't I?
No, but it's very meaningful, and you had questions rolling through my head.
Yeah, I did say a lot.
Which is thinking about, because in my family we had substance abuse issues, alcoholism, and I remember as a certain family member was going through this, and all of us, the nephews, nieces, brothers, sisters, mother, all members of the family and every level, we were conflicted as to what to do. Yeah. Somebody would think, no, this is the best thing. No, I disagree. Then be mad at each other for doing this, for allowing this, for enabling, and then second guessing. I don't know why you'd let her do this. You shouldn't have done. We were just winging it on our own without professional advice. Yeah. So how important is that professional advice as a family group, so you can have some consistent consistent behavior, consistent reactions, consistent amongst the family member to say, okay, we're all on the same page here.
Well, I mean, it's super important, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so we're licensed as a medical treatment facility, right?
Right.
Think about this. Think about any other medical treatment facility.
Yeah.
If you have a loved one going through cancer or something,
Yeah.
diabetes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's people just like, yeah, of course, we need to be educated about it. We need to know about it. We need to be involved in it. No one's ever like, okay, you have cancer, go get your treatment. You're going to get better and everything.
Let us know how you make out.
Let us know how it went. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's just this natural need to be involved.
Right.
But then with substance abuse, which, like we said, we are a medical facility, people are like, oh, okay, just go get better and let us know how it went.
Right.
It's absolutely fundamentally important. It's not impossible. Like, I think the family involvement piece has been something that has positively evolved from the time I started to now. So 11 years ago, I don't think it was very common. You didn't see that as much. And that is one really positive thing that has evolved in substance abuse care, is that like the need to have family involvement has really become aware. It's been an awareness now. And so, I mean, yes, somebody can go do it on their own and get sober, and yes, they can continue to get sober, and the family will improve just because this person is no longer, doing the crap they were doing, but they're not going to improve at the pace that they would if family was involved, and they're not going to improve at the long-term positive effects either. It's just not going to happen. So it is actually super important that the family gets involved in it, because the family members need help too. They need help to talk about their resentments. They need help to look at what they did and what they didn't do and kind of get over that kind of stuff. And they need to learn what it really means to be an addict. They need to.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the people I've met with and interviewed have said, I just had no idea what to do. Professional advice would have been helpful, number one. The second thing is, in looking back, they say, maybe looking back, I enabled that person too much. Yeah. And I've heard that quite a bit, and I wish I had done it differently. Or, me and my husband were fighting over what to do about this. And as a result, we fought for a year, whatever, and that can create wedges in the family because you're not on all the same in the same direction. Everybody's rowing in a different direction, and you're going nowhere. So I think that's really important, and that's what I was thinking: having as many of the family members involved, so they're all understanding exactly, what we can do collectively to help. And
then to understand that, I mean, when you have some kind of dysfunctional system that's going on for a while, right? So say you have someone who's been using addictively for 5 years.
Yeah.
That affects everybody, right? So people in the family, they start getting into these roles, right? You have the person who's the enabler. For 5 years of enabling. Right. You have you have all these certain roles in the family, and they're so ingrained in the people. When it stops, when the person starts getting better, these other people are still just so used to these roles, right? Yeah. It's a power differential that changes. You have the addict. It's just natural. Like, that person's wrong. They get the blame. Which, they've kind of dug their hole, but it's just the way it is. Yeah. You don't go from this person's the problem to backing out and going back to the way the family used to function without help. Like, if I'm used to being the one picking up all the pieces and, my loved one gets sober, I'm still going to try to pick up all the pieces and control everything. Mm-hmm. I need help to get back to the new norm. I need to learn how, because the whole system is going to change. And as a family member, you need help to navigate that.
And it's not always easy, because sometimes it goes against your intuition.
Well, it goes against what you just did for 5, 10, 12 years. It's like, it's just ingrained behavior. People are resistant to change on a subconscious level. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? So even positive change, right? So if they're used to this weird dynamic because of my loved one's an addict, just because the loved one is no longer actively out there using and they're getting better, I'm still used to this weird dynamic. And the dynamic's going to stay there, and it's not a healthy dynamic unless the family gets help to recognize it and work on it.
Now, if a family member has somebody in their family, they're not the addict themselves, but they don't know what to do, do family members call you, the person who's not using, and ask what can I do?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would say that. I mean, I would say that the majority of the calls that we receive are from loved one people, the family members who have a loved one.
Not the user or addict
The majority.
themselves.
I'm not saying
yeah.
that we don't get a lot of calls from people who are actually using themselves.
Okay.
But the majority of the calls that we receive are from the loved ones, right? Because it's hard to make that decision to stop. And so oftentimes it's the loved one who wants the addict to stop more than the addict. And so they're the ones who are, like I said, we get the majority of the calls from them. Yeah, I mean, that's what we'll do. I'll sit there, or my staff will sit there, and they will talk to them and navigate and explain what they can do to help.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you've gone from 7 to 35 certainly cool. It shows that it's
There's
working.
a need.
And people are finding you, and that's great.
Yeah.
And you have any plans to expand, or you will reach a capacity at some point?
Yeah, I mean, we do.
Yeah,
we do. I mean, there's plans to. We're just taking it as it comes right now, honestly. I mean, but yes, me and my current partner were talking about, maybe if we get up there a little bit more, trying to get a place, do the same thing, but maybe a little further north, just so we can spread the reach and availability.
Right. That wouldn't make sense to have one that's right.
Just so we can just want the availability, right? Because we really are unique. We really are different than the other options in this area.
I was going to ask you too what you see about the increase in fentanyl overdoses. Because, just reading an article on CNN, it's titled, "Americans are overdosing on a drug they don't even know they're taking."
Correct.
And a lot of the fentanyl now that is in heroin, but also in the pills and the oxy pills, disguised as oxy pills. But now, and we talked about in 2020, I think there was 93,000 deaths. It's already up past 100,000 deaths in 2021. But a majority of those are due to the increased fentanyl that's coming in. You see a lot more of that here locally too? Yeah,
and what I'm seeing is even scarier than that about having the pills and the heroin be actually fentanyl is I'm actually seeing that it's in other substances too, like cocaine. I'm seeing that people who are smoking marijuana, they're buying marijuana on the street, not getting it, through a dispensary or something. That actually there's fentanyl in that too. I don't know how it happens. I don't know why it happens. I don't know if it's on purpose. I don't know if people who are, supplying the drugs just aren't super clean and they're just like, they're putting all their, heroin together.
Even trace amounts, right?
Yeah. And then they're putting all their marijuana together in the same table. I don't know. But I do know, and this is that I've had people, because we do urines. We do urines to help the person.
Yeah.
It's a really good. It encourages people to stay on point. It really does. Most people are really happy that we do urines to check.
Okay.
Because it gives them an extra motivation. But I have seen in my facility individuals who do not use opiates at all, who are like positive for marijuana and fentanyl, because the marijuana they got somehow had fentanyl in it. And actually, a friend of mine is a fireman, and it was just like 2 weeks ago, he said that he went to the house with 2 overdose deaths, and that it was just for marijuana laced fentanyl, and that the people who smoked it didn't know that there was fentanyl in it.
That's very scary.
It's super scary.
Yeah.
It's super scary.
And when you think, no, I'm going to stay away from those hard drugs.
Right. I mean, you don't even know it.
You don't even know it.
I mean, there was an individual recently who, when I explained to him that you have fentanyl, traces of fentanyl in your system, was absolutely floored, and he was smoking marijuana.
That's enough to make you stop, but
I mean, it doesn't take much to.
Right, just a small amount.
Yeah.
And I guess everybody's system is more or less tolerable, so it could just be a trace amount, and that could kill you. Yeah, that's just a terrible, and it could be I won't say innocent, but I'm going to stay away from. I'll take this pill. It's just oxy.
But now, I mean, now it's even worse. I'll just smoke this marijuana. It's just marijuana, and you don't even realize there's actually fentanyl in it.
Yeah. And I think, it could say one of the obvious things here is, the best way to prevent that from happening is to just not start.
Right.
Okay, that's the best. But if you think about, there's so many treatment programs after they begin using. But the bottom line is preventing it early on, preventing people from stopping. There's no better way than to never start.
Absolutely. You can't get a problem if you never started in the first place.
It's kind of like the best way to prevent pregnancy is to not have sex, because I think not having sex reduces the likelihood of getting pregnant.
I heard that.
Yeah. It's the same way, right? So if you say, well, the prevention, but getting that early on, and I think you're a recovery treatment center and you're treating people, but what do you think? Are there any programs or anything that you think is effective in getting people to just not start to begin with?
I think the best effectiveness of that is to have family educated on what the potential dangers are of addiction, and having those conversations with your children when they're younger. I think having not scare tactics, but being able to be really engaged in the parenting of your children.
Yeah.
And forming really strong relationships with them so that they trust you and they look up to you, and that you're there for them, and you're teaching them how to cope with life through healthy ways, and you're supportive to your children, and that you can be very mindful and present about what's going on in their lives, and you can notice if anything's going not that way, and that you can educate them there. So it's really about people understanding what the disease of addiction really is, which is more people are understanding that, right? It's less of a stigma now than it used to be. I think more people are understanding that this is something that doesn't just affect winos under a bridge.
Right.
It affects everybody. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of I would venture to say that a person would be hard pressed to not know somebody in their life that's important to them that struggles from addiction.
And you're right. That was well said. And I think that there's hardly a family to be found. I can't. I mean, and you think that if this problem affects everybody, and this is why we're doing this, why you're doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
We're starting to wind down on our time here. Anything else you have that popped in your head that we didn't get to chance to talk about?
I just if you're listening to this, if you're seeing this or whatever, like, keep us in mind and understand that, like, if you know somebody or you yourself struggle, reach out to us and we will help you. Mm-hmm. No matter whether we can help you at our place or not, we will help you, and that we are a very unique option in this area for people that did not exist 364 days ago.
Right. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's
cool.
Perfect timing. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't even really realize it until the beginning. Before we even started this.
Yep. So it's worth mentioning, because if people are just listening, and the phone number, if you can mention the phone number.
413-861-0680.
And the website again.
The website is www.compassrecoverytreatment.com.
Perfect.
And we are in Agawam, Massachusetts.
You're pretty much right in the geographical center of Agawam.
Yeah, we kind of are. We're on Springfield Street.
Easy to find.
Very easy to find.
Yeah.
Very easy to find.
Perfect, yeah.
Yep.
Well, Dino, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
We'll have you back.
I'll come back.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.